Who is you when you check 1, 2? What do you do when you check 1, 2? My goodness. Today has been a day, I'll tell you. I woke up feeling quite under the weather, quite sick. And yeah, because of that, I let myself rest. I slept probably the majority of the day. And yeah, and then I was busy with some, as you can call it, computer stuff, trying to figure out setting up some things. Anyways, it was kind of a very mentally draining day, all in all. And with that, it almost slipped my mind that I had to do the podcast, and so I was sitting there at dinner, and then it just hit me all at once. Oh shoot! Today's a Wednesday. Today is podcast day, and you know, I didn't have any energy to do it. I didn't really want to sit down here and talk about things because really, I still feel sick. Really, I want to go to bed right now. I don't want to be sitting here talking about things. But by golly, it's what I'm going to do because I made a promise to myself every single Wednesday, no matter what. And that moment that I remembered that it was something that I had to do today, well, there wasn't any choice left. I had made the choice a long, long time ago. I had made the choice that every single Wednesday I'm sitting down. Now, if you follow my content, like a lot, which is kind of crazy that anyone does that, but if you do, you'll notice that I didn't post a video last Wednesday. And that is because I was in Costa Rica. I was in Barcelona, a bit farther away than Costa Rica. And I did record the video. I sat down on the Wednesday. I had my camera there, and I recorded it, but didn't have any way to post it. And for me, that's because recording is way more important than the posting. I know why I'm doing this. Sometime in the future, maybe it will be, the other way around, that getting the recording done is also as important as getting it posted online. But for me right now, just simply having that pressure of having to sit down and talk about what's important to me, that is the most important thing. And so, yeah, you'll be seeing the 2 episodes. I will be posting them tonight, I believe. And so, yeah. So, to get over all of that, to get over the long introduction of things that don't necessarily matter all too much, to the things that do matter a lot. And that is today's topic of identity. As this is something that, again, has been coming to me recently. This is why I talk about things like this, is because it pops up in my daily life, and I just have to talk about it. It's so important to me that I express my own view on this, my own perspective on how this works, because then that helps someone else understand their own perspective towards it. I'm not doing this in a way that you take exactly what I say for 100% truth, but in a way to just give you a new idea of how to think about things. And that will help you, hopefully, find your own way. I know it definitely helps me when I hear about other people's perspectives, about how other people handle their lives, how other people see their lives through a different lens. And that helps me build my own perspective on what I'm going to do with mine, or how I can help other people, because not everyone thinks the way I do, which is, crazy, but it's just how it is. So I can't approach helping everyone in the same way that I help myself. But one thing that I do find is pretty across the board with everyone is we all have identities. And I don't just mean the identity that we show out into the world, the identity of who we are, but the identity that is more personal, the one that we don't speak out loud, the one that we don't necessarily show, but somewhere in our mind, more so subconscious than not, we have this idea, this story really, of who we are as a person. And this happens in many different areas of our lives. But how the story is told really affects how you live. It is as simple as that. The story is important. Think about any sort of movie you watch or any book you read. If you learn anything about what makes a good movie or makes a good book, it's the story. If you had the best movie out there, it looks cinematic, it has great actors, it has, the best audio quality, whatever, and it has everything but a story, well, no one's going to show up and watch it. In the same way, the story that you tell yourself drives who you are as a person, drives where you end up throughout a day, because it affects literally everything. And so, with that being said, you might think, well, it's probably pretty darn important to create a good story. And I will tell you, it actually is. It really, really is. And first of all, we need to recognize the story that is being told to us in the first place. And this can happen through many different things in life. But I'm going to give you an example of something that I'm personally going through, a story that I am personally working to change. And hopefully that will give you a way to look at maybe identifying your own identities, the identities that aren't helping you anymore. Maybe they were helpful in the past. They come from a certain root, but they might not be what you want them to be in today's world. And so we want to help change them. And I'll give some tips, or really, I can't give tips and tricks. That's the thing. The way I do this, the honesty that I put forward, nothing here is a tip or trick. Nothing here is a shortcut. What I can give you is a perspective on how to put in the work, but nothing is going to be easy in this process. Nothing is going to be a shortcut of getting it done in the fastest way possible. We can't simply change who we are in a fundamental level in a quick 3-step program. It doesn't work that way. But I can give you my perspective on that and how I believe changing is actually effectively done. So, first of all, let's get through with this example. For me, I'm currently working on changing my identity, and in a specific area regarding sleep. I have, for probably the last 3 to 4 years, consistently tried to fix my sleep, have a better sleep schedule, go to sleep at a certain time or wake up at a certain time. Simply sleep a certain amount of hours every night. And I've had this, I've been able to achieve that in the week-to-week basis, but I never reached my goal of having that consistently, having that every single day, having that as something I could count on. And through that, I created an identity within myself. That identity being, I am someone who wants to have better sleep, but not someone who ever achieves it. That's the identity that I created for myself. I'm someone who tries to achieve better sleep, but never really gets there in the end. And that identity was created through the fact that simply that every single time I tried to do something regarding my sleep, and then I didn't pull through 100%, or it wasn't 100% of a success, was another data point showing me, okay, I couldn't do it. I couldn't actually be on the other side. So it was another thing showing me, yes, I am the person who tries but doesn't get there in the end. And that is still holding me back to this day, even though it's not even that true. There are many other things in my life where I try and I do succeed. Why can't I do this with sleep? Well, it's because this identity has been holding me back for so long, because I've held on to it for so long. And I haven't yet taken the proper actions into breaking it up, to working against it, to showing myself that this doesn't control me. But why does it control me? That is the question we have to ask ourselves. What is it about a story that is being told that makes it so powerful? Well, it's really because your brain likes to be right. Your brain is a pattern searching machine, and it loves to find patterns and be right about them. So once it has this pattern of, in my example, someone who tries to, get better sleep but doesn't end up succeeding, well, it's going to consistently look for more and more ways to find it, because that's the expected result. And it in a way, it likes to see the expected result because at least that's familiar. Your brain would rather be correct and stay the same rather than be wrong and change for the better. At the same time, it's also good because it would rather be correct and stay the same than change for the worst. But one of these ways is, of course, holding us back from achieving our truest potential. And that is not the coolest. So we have to be able to work against it in one way or another. And simply to change your identity is the same way as how the original identity was created in the first place, through data points, through something happening over and over and over again, showing you that you are a certain way, that you act a certain way, that you think a certain way. And we just simply have to reverse it, take control actively of the process of creating new data points to show yourself, actually, I'm this way. Actually, I care so much about this thing that I do pull through, that I do end up achieving it. And you end up creating these data points day after day. We have to start small here because you have, let's say in my case, I have like about 4 years of data showing that I can't do it, that I haven't succeeded once in the fact of sleeping well consistently. I haven't succeeded once. And I can't just hop in and say, okay, from this day on, I'm always going to go to bed at this time. I'm always going to wake up at this time. There's no way I'm going to break this promise. I can't do that because I can't promise myself something that I don't even believe. I have to show myself first that I can handle the smaller things, handle the first big step. So it is as simple as, in my case, okay, tonight I'm going to go to bed at this time, or tomorrow I'm going to wake up at this time. And then after that day, I have to do something very, very important. And this is a step that I have consistently skipped, and I'm now realizing the importance it is. And it's simply the recognition of what I have done. The thing that actually changes is creating a data point. And having that data point strong, you can strengthen it really simply by taking a little extra time to recognize it, what it is. What does it mean to me that I did what I did? For example, I go to bed at a certain time tonight and I wake up at a certain time tomorrow. I can just say, okay, I did that. Let's move on to the next thing. Tonight I'm going to go to bed at this time and wake up tomorrow, or for the next 3 days I'm going to do this, such and such. But if I don't take any time to recognize, hey, I went to bed tonight at this certain time, even though I had this thing and this thing and this thing that I wanted to get done, or I would rather have stayed up and hung out with this friend or such and such. But I realize how important my sleep is to me, and I have my reasonings for that. And so, in the face of that, I recognize that it was more important for me to care about my sleep than to take kind of these, extra fun activities. And so I did go to sleep on time. That means that I care about my body, care about my brain, how I am moving forward in life. Taking just this little extra time to sit down and recognize, what does it mean? Why did I do what I did? What does it actually mean to me? This is what creates not only a data point, but a data point that is strong. And this is important because, again, we're working against maybe multiple years worth of data in the wrong direction. We have to fight against this in every way we can. Or, I don't like this word fight. I guess I've said it quite a few times, but this is, again, the words that we use tell a story. We're not fighting against it because, as another thing that I've found in life, you can't fight against anything. If you fight against something, it will only fight back. And that is how it goes. If you go up and slap someone, well, they're going to get pretty angry. What you have to do is meet them in the middle. Recognize power that they have over you. In this sense, I'm talking about, again, this identity. Recognize that the power it has over you and say, okay, but I'm acting above this in this moment. I am tapping into my higher self for this time because, sure, it does affect me. This story does make me want to push myself in one direction over the other, but now I am making the change. You can't fight against it. And so that's an active change in my mental identity there. That it really is this identity that I've built up, that changing or bettering yourself is a fight. It's a battle against your own self. And that's something that I'm trying to actively change when it comes to my vocabulary, because it's not the case. You can't fight against it because it will only fight back and you'll end up losing in the long term. So you have to meet it in the middle. And that's the whole thing about betterment. You have to recognize when you're wrong. Right there, I was wrong. And the brain doesn't like to be wrong. But in the end, it will better me to say, yeah, I'm wrong for using that sort of language or thinking that sort of way about myself. So I'm moving forward with that. The good old note check to make sure that I'm hitting all the points that I wanted to say. Okay, yeah. In the same way that a story can be the biggest hindrance to who you are, a good story can be the strongest thing that pushes you forward. The best player on your team is the story that you can tell yourself. But we have to be careful of that because it works both ways. It has a strong effect, and how it is affecting us, we get to control, whether it is for the positive or for the negative. So really taking control of the story is one of the biggest things we can do when it comes to actually understanding how we work as a person. One of the best things, and this is something I know I've brought up many, many times, but I love bringing this up because it's just so cool. It's, in this case, it's about trying to tell yourself a lot of positive stories simply by looking back at the things that you're already doing. Because I 100% bet that you are already doing so many things for yourself that are so positive. And it just takes the time of spinning that into a good story for you to recognize how much you actually care about yourself. My favorite example of this is brushing your teeth. Most people, I would say, brush their teeth morning and noon. Some people even halfway through the day. Not personally one of those, but if you are, I guess points to you. And this is so good. This is great because it is so simple. Everyone does it. And because everyone does it, people think, well, it's not anything special. Why should I be proud of myself for brushing my teeth? Everyone brushes their teeth. Well, sure, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be proud of it. I like to take this example because it is something that almost everyone does, but that doesn't mean that it has no meaning. There is a reason why we do this. And if you understand your personal reasoning, well, you gain a better self-image of yourself simply through looking back at something that you already have done since you were probably very, very little. For me, I brush my teeth because I care about my, dental health, which means I care about my physical health. I care about who I am moving forward in a healthy body. I want to stay in the prime of my body. And so every time I brush my teeth, I'm not just fulfilling a task. I'm not just doing something. I am showing myself that I care about my body, that I care about myself. And thus, I am really actively taking effort to care for myself, to show myself that I do matter. And it's, sure, that might seem a little over-exaggerated. It might seem like I'm blowing something out of the water. But why not? Why can't I be so stoked about brushing my teeth? It helps me on a certain level that it is simply something so simple. And yet, as long as I show up and do it, I'm showing myself a very big part of the care. I'm showing myself who I am in the end of the day. So find your reason. Why do you brush your teeth? Why do you get out of bed at a certain time in the morning? Why do you eat the way that you do? Find some things that you already do that are very, very simple, but also very important, full of meaning. You have to take a little time to dig through and find that truthful meaning of what makes you do it at the end of the day. And it's really the cheat code, if there really is any cheat code or shortcut out there, which there aren't a lot that are actually helpful. But it's almost a shortcut in the way that you can very quickly recognize so many things that you're already doing and start building a better story in your own brain about who you are as a person, how much you actually care for yourself. Are you putting in the work? I would say that most people are already doing more positive things than not, and they just need to take the time to recognize those. Oh. Yeah. It's really cool. Another little scan of the notes. Yeah. Yeah, the last thing is, I've kind of covered this already, but you have to be wrong in order to change. And this is kind of difficult because it's almost the fact that to change our identity, we have to be wrong. But a lot of us have this identity in and of itself that we don't like being wrong, that we avoid being wrong. And so this is the problem. Just like before in this episode, when I had to admit that I was wrong for using the word fighting, there was a little bit of resistance for that. And I'm still working on it, of course. And it was wrong for me to admit being wrong in that moment. That is working against my identity, but it's great. I love that. That means that I am okay with being in that uncomfortable situation of being wrong, of working to change my identity for the better. If you want to become the person who wakes up at a certain time or eats a certain way, you have to be wrong. Because in a certain level, let's stick with diet for a second as an example. A lot of people in this world want to eat healthier or eat a certain way. And they have these habits built up of how they eat, because throughout life they've just simply been fed one thing over the other, whether it be from family or financial situations. Whatever it is, they've ate a certain way for their life. And so they have this identity built up of this is how they eat, this is what they like. And in some cases it just doesn't have to be that way. But you can't ignore the fact that that was what you were used to. You know, if you have a strong addiction to sugar, what some people call a sweet tooth, it's really an addiction, and you can't ignore an addiction the same way you can't ignore an addiction to smoking. You have to recognize that, yeah, it does suck. If I don't eat sugar, I feel bad because it's an addiction that is keeping me eating sugar. And that's okay. You have to recognize the fact that it is okay to feel bad because you are feeling bad in this moment for the betterment of yourself, because you want to change. If you want to change, it will be uncomfortable. And there's no way around it. You have to be able to face that in a way. If you want to quit smoking, you'll have to go through a lot of uncomfortable moments, because simply is. You're doing something that your brain on a neurological level doesn't want you to do. It doesn't want you to let go of that comfort. It doesn't want you to change your patterns because, again, it's a pattern finding system. It wants to latch on to the things that are easy, to the things that are giving you that dopamine, that neurological rush. But in the end, that's not always what's best for us. We have to, again, meet our brain in the middle and say, hey, I understand that you feel this way. I understand that this is what you want to go with, the path that you want to take. But I, as the person, as the one in control, say, I want something better for me. And I know we can achieve better. And sure, it might not be comfortable, but I personally would rather be uncomfortable and fulfilled than comfortable and having very little meaning in life, not having fulfilled what knew I could have, having potential left out on the table. I'd rather take the uncomfortable path, personally. It's taken me quite a bit of time to